So Donald Trump's former Attorney General William Barr is now coming out and saying all of those election lies Trump was telling, they were lies. They were BS. He had these lawyers working for him, but the lawyers were a, quote, clown show. That's a quote from William Barr. And everybody now is saying, here's a guy willing to tell the truth about... Guys, he wrote a book. He wrote a book, and now he wants to sell the book. And like everybody else, he kept the most interesting stories for the end. Now, did he actually object enough to what was going on with Donald Trump while he was working for him to say no more? Well, only at the absolute end. Remember, William Barr didn't resign until December 23rd or something like that of 2020. And he seemed to be wanting to get the hell out of there before whatever was going to happen on January 6th happened. But he went along with it all along. He was willing to work for Trump and on and on and on. And we can't let these guys be rehabilitated. But what William Barr says is really interesting. Here is an interview that William Barr did with NBC Nightly News host Lester Holt, where he says it was all BS.
And I told him that all this stuff was bullshit and about election fraud. And, it was wrong to be shoveling it out the way his team was. And he started asking me about different theories, and I had the answers. I was able to tell him this is wrong because of this.
You're trying to set him straight.
Yes. And he listened. He was obviously getting very angry about this. I said, okay, well, look, I understand you're upset with me, and I'm perfectly happy to tender my resignation. And then, boom.
He slaps the desk.
He slapped the desk and he said, accepted, accepted. And then, boom, he slapped it again, accepted. Go home. Don't go back to your office. Go home. You're done.
So that is a firing, folks. Now, remember that at the time when this happened, when it was announced William Barr is leaving, we all understood this is a firing at this point in all likelihood. And indeed it was. It is just another one of these examples where some see this and say, what a great guy, what a hero, William Barr, willing to tell the truth. He's willing to tell the truth, 15 months later, because he's trying to sell a book. Would have been useful to hear this stuff at the time. And there is another segment of this interview where he talks about the clown show of lawyers that Donald Trump brought out. And it was quite a clown show.
And about election fraud. And, it was wrong to be shoveling it out the way his team was.
He also told Trump what he thought of his legal team. Not a lot.
I said, the reason you are where you are is because you wheeled out a clown show of lawyers.
A clown show?
Yeah, clown car or something like that. I said, it's just a bunch of clowns.
Who are you referring to? Rudy Giuliani?
His Cracker Jack legal team, among others.
Barr says the president shot back, listing...
So, guys, obviously Barr is right, and it's funny to hear him talk about those clown lawyers in these terms, but he was complicit with so much of what went on for so long. He misstated what was in the Mueller report. He's not a good guy.
Ways he said Barr had failed him. That's when Barr says he offered up his resignation.
I said, okay, well, look, I understand you're upset with me, and I'm perfectly happy to tender my resignation. And then, boom.
He slaps the desk.
He slapped the desk and he said, accepted, accepted.
Which we heard already.
Boom, he slapped it again, accepted. Go home. Don't go back to your office. Go home. You're done.
When we asked the former president about this meeting, he disputed Barr's account and told us he was the one who demanded Barr's resignation. Either way, Barr handed in a resignation
either way, it was a firing.
Letter 2 weeks later and has not spoken with Donald Trump since. He does not want him to run for president again.
All right. So listen, why is William Barr doing this now? It's because he wrote a book and he wants to sell a book. And there's this sort of rehabilitation tour. And maybe part of it is also distancing from Trump for future opportunities or whatever. But it's almost certainly just to sell a book. That's the theme. They hold on to the juicy stuff or their indignant and principled statements until they have a book to sell. I think they mostly do tell the truth. William Barr or whoever, Stephanie Grisham wrote one. And now I don't even remember all the people who have written books. It's just at a particular time for a particular benefit, they start telling all of those stories. Now, the other aspect of this is any opportunity that Trump has to talk about Barr, Trump will almost certainly throw Barr under the bus. So it's like, why hold back at this point anyway? But remember, Barr is not a good guy. It's like, hey, Mitt Romney said one thing that makes sense, but he's still a guy I don't really agree with politically. All of the former Trump people are worse because they worked for Trump. Barr lied to Congress with regard to important parts of the Mueller report. He lied in that letter that he put out. Remember the letter summarizing the Mueller report, which wrongly said that it cleared Trump of obstruction, which the Mueller report very clearly did not. So if you're actually interested in this book, I'd wait a few weeks. It almost certainly will show up in the 99-cent area within a few weeks or a couple months. That's almost always the way it happens with these political books. I will not be buying the book. And in terms of the movement that Barr is now part of, I would be willing to concede that Barr seems to be exiting the worst of the worst Trumpian fringe. Sure, he resigned / was fired. He calls out BS when he sees it. Okay, fine. But he's taking a step back to the Pence-McConnell Republican Party, which is almost as bad. It's people who are in denial about this being Donald Trump's party. It's clueless people. It's people who were willing to go with whatever Trump wanted for as long as it was sort of beneficial to them and gave them access to centers of power or whatever the case may be. He's marginally less crazy, I guess, because he's willing to say this. So for all we know, they're bailing on Trump because they plan to build consensus around Republicans nominating some kind of centrist in 2024 instead of someone like a Trump or a DeSantis. But these are not good people, and William Barr deserves barely any praise. William Barr has done 1% of all that William Barr has done since working for Trump as Attorney General. 1% of what he's said and done makes sense and seems sort of like morally grounded. And so he can get that 1% praise from us. Good thing he's saying this. He's saying it now to sell books. And I wouldn't trust this guy as far as I can throw him. One of our longtime sponsors is Vincero Collective. I love Vincero's watches. You've heard me talk about them before. They now offer sunglasses and a bunch of other premium accessories for men and women. Vincero is committed to creating exceptionally crafted watches and accessories and doing so ethically. Fair pricing, carbon neutrality. Vincero puts their principles first, which is important to me. I just picked up the Rogue from Vincero in gunmetal and red. I love the intricate design on the watch face and the multiple subdials. The durable black silicone strap looks great with just about anything I'm wearing. In all of Vincero's products, whether it's the watches, the glasses, men's or women's, you can just see and feel the quality. So if you want to elevate your look, or you want to find the perfect Valentine's Day gift for that special someone, pick something up at Vincero. Vincero Collective is giving my audience 15% off all products and free shipping. Go to vincerocollective.com/Pacman and use the code Pacman. The link is down below.